Hello and welcome everyone to a new video. In this video I'll be showcasing the Ball Lightning Sorcerer in Season 4. It is quite a nice build and it helped me through the mid game, and now in the end game it's doing quite well as well, and I can still keep improving upon it, and it's quite nice. So let's get right into it. First of all, the items. So there are quite a lot of uniques and powers that you can actually use for this. So one of the first ones I would say is one of the most important ones for your build is of course the gravitational aspect on your gloves. This can also be on your weapon, but it just needs to be on an offensive piece. So immediately I'll just go over the gloves real quick. The gloves also need to have core skills because your Ball Lightning is now a core skill as well, so you get +2 for that. And other than that, critical strike chance, attack speed, and resource cost reduction are all stats you really want on your gear. So those, and if any of your gear can get that, then you first want to get attack speed, then critical strike chance, and then resource cost reduction. And of course you want to get your core skills up in there as well. With all of that you can increase your cast speed and how many you cast each time, and with mana cost you can cast more and more. Then the second aspect that is required in this build is the Prodigy. This means that every time you use a cooldown that you will get your mana back as well, which means, not almost, you'll get like half a free cast of Ball Lightning each time you cast a cooldown, but you'll be spamming your abilities quite a lot, so you will getting back a lot of mana, meaning that you can cast a lot more Ball Lightnings. Then for your head, this one's also, I would say, this one isn't required, but it really gets you a lot of damage reduction, 27% extra from your Vera Mastery key passive. We're also taking Vera Mastery here, even though the cooldown reduction for the other key passive, which is the Lightning key passive, is pretty good. We're gonna choose this over it just because of the survivability that gives. 27% damage reduction is quite insane. Then for my chest piece, I did get a unique Raymond's. If you don't want, or you don't have this unique yet, I would say just get a very tanky chest piece. So I would say armor, total armor, health, life, any resistance, anything you can get in that armor piece, I would get. But I really like Raymond's, so I chose that one. Then we move on to our legs. I chose quite a different aspect on my legs. I actually went with Exploiters Adventurers, because late game you'll actually have elite mobs that can get out of your stun, and just the 20% increased crowd control duration is also really nice. But unstoppable enemies actually getting a 40% damage debuff is quite nice, and you just want to stack armor and health upon your legs as well. I had a nice what's that, legendary aspect, or like the little plus thingy that's on here. I had a nice stat for intelligence, so I also put that on my legs. Then boots. Boot is quite important because you really want plus on your Ball Lightning. I got really lucky and actually got a +4 on there. Sadly, I didn't get with my master working. I didn't hit it, so I didn't get another +1 on it, but I did get it on movement speed. Also, of course, for master working, this would be one of the best ones to get first, because you'll get more points into your Ball Lightning, which is why my Ball Lightning is right now an 11 out of 5. So that's very important. Other stats that are quite important are movement speed, of course, but you can also get this on your tempering. I'll go over tempering real quick as well on each item. Well, I'll just do it right now. Lucky hit chance to freeze and lucky hit chance to immobilize are very good, because now all of your hits will also have a chance to freeze and immobilize. This will increase your CC duration. With this, also with your increased crowd control duration, you will CC even bosses real quick. So this was real nice synergy. Then for any other thing that can get an offensive tempering, they will need to get damage on close energies. I really have a lot of it stacked, and I think if you, I don't even have this is maxed out, don't worry about it. I still need to figure out a little bit of my Paragon points, but this will be maxed out. With that you can get a lot of the close range. Where is it? Damage versus close, 360%. That's all just for my gear. So furthermore, so again, damage against close enemies. On your weapon you would like some vulnerable damage as well. Vulnerable damage is quite nice because enemies will be permanently vulnerable. So you will do a lot extra damage to them. Intelligence, always good, also for resistances. And we already went over that, so we're gonna go to our amulet. This actually isn't that good of an amulet, but it really does help me with the resistances, because I am quite lacking for it right now. You can imprint your other stuff with the white gems for more resistances, or the armor gems or the skill gems if you want more more armor. Just try to get to the cap of everything. I'm almost at the cap and almost at the capped resistances. So, you know, of course, there's a little bit of playroom there, but once I get a little bit more intelligence for my paragon points, I'll get that as well. Other than that, really good stats: attack speed, critical strike chance, and resource cost reduction. As I've said before, cooldown reduction is also very important to have, especially on your headgear as well. You would really like to get mana per second and cooldown reduction. It's really essential that you get that, because those are very good stats for your build, because you want to spam your cooldowns as much as possible. As you can see here, my ultimate is already at 46-second cooldown, so there's a lot of cooldown reduction on that. And that is also because I tried to get, which failed here, I tried to get the unstable currents cooldown reduction on tempering, so that is also something you really want. Then again, if you can get it, get the cooldown reduction, attack speed, resource cost reduction, but of course, and crit chance, don't forget that one. But of course, if you don't have that, or you don't have max resistances, get that first and then get your offensive later, because you really want to survive, because you're going to be close range for everything in this build, so you want to survive as much as possible. Okay, then moving on, another one of the rings. I talked about it a little bit already, but again, damage to close range, because it's a ring, it can go offensive, and also cooldown reduction on your unstable currents. When you're in unstable currents, you really do a ton of damage, so you really want to get that as much as possible. And again, attack speed, critical strike chance, resource cost reduction, you really want to get those, and you want to masterwork those as well later, but other things have priority. But those are really essential stats to keep your build going and going. Then Tarasha, in this current build, I have been thinking of actually one of the offensive loops. You can actually, instead of doing damage to close range, you could get another element in there on your weapon, for example. Instead of maybe chance to hit ball lightning twice, you will do that. So that could be good to get a lot of 14%, but you're usually on your 3%, because you have your ice blades, you fire from your enchantment, and of course lightning. So you will get the 3 times 14% all the time, which is 42%, which is quite nice. And of course, the stats on the Tarasha's ring are quite nice, because there you have cooldown reduction, resource regeneration, and non-physical damage, which are good in this build. And the ring also just gives 14% all res. It's good. Then for your focus, we want to get control. Well, of course, if you want to get like the vulnerable upon here, and then this one, control on your amulet, that is also available. But I would say this one is just damage against vulnerable, which is always good, also against bosses. But this is only situational. It doesn't damage bosses until they're stunned, which happens quite a lot when you do a boss. But this has helped me quite a lot through the mid game. Again, for tempering, damage to close, ball lightning twice on your weapons. You can opt in just to do another element damage on one of these two. Of course, you will get like 16% less chance to do ball lightning, but the damage and the 14% chance is also not too bad. I mean, 14% chance to cast something again, or just 40% extra damage. Who knows? It's quite the same actually. So you could choose for that. Again, critical strike chance, risk reduction, cooldown reduction, all things that are good. You do want to have a focus because of the 7% cooldown reduction, and of course damage against close enemies. Those two are good stats. Alternative aspects that you might get are this one. If you don't have Talrasha, you could get the Loop of Shredding Blades, or Loop of Shredding, I think. Shredding Blades, that's the aspect name. This makes your Ice Blades vulnerable increase, but that's when really you gain 30% increased vulnerable damage. That is quite nice, but you do need quite a bit of vulnerable damage to make that pretty stack. I have 180%. With this, you get another 30% on top of that, which is quite nice. But you don't really need that. It's not really required. And then this is another one. You do 20% against dazed enemy. This is just another type of CC you can do. You have a 20% chance to daze enemies for 2 seconds, and then you do a 20% increased damage to them. Well, you can do this quite fast, but most of the time you're just stunning everything with your lightning spears, so you don't really need this as often. I've chose to opt out for the Exploiter instead of the Archon Greaves of Concussive Strikes. Oh, what a name. Okay, that's it for the items. Then we're gonna go to the enchantments real quick. For enchantments, you have the Firebolt enchantment and the Ice Blades enchantment. Ice Blades enchantment is just so you put more Ice Blades down, so you can get more cooldown reduction. It's very nice. This is just so you get fire damage. That's one thing. And of course, you'll get more critical strike damage in your ability tree, which I'll go over very quickly. Firebolt, the usual. You want to get everything in elemental dominance. A lot of points into teleport because you're really gonna spam teleport. And I think I totally forgot, but for your boots, optional, you can also just get the 20% movement speed, but the aspect will reduce your boot cooldown or your teleport cooldown by 2 seconds, and this one will increase it by 2 seconds. So this kind of balances out. So, or it increases by 20%, but you know, I think it balances out. And 6-second cooldown your teleport feels really good, especially with Raymonds. So you want to put points into that, so it shortens even more. So that's nice. This is good, and of course Glass Cannon, you'll get 1 point for Raymonds. Elemental Attunement, to put 1 point in is really good. You can maybe even double teleport if you teleport in, hit a few enemies, and then you gain teleport again, but you'll just be spamming. So this one really always comes up. Of course, our shield, Ice Armor, reduces cooldown. For every 50 mana you spend a lot of mana with this, so the cooldown gets really low. Mana Shield, Protection. Lightning Spear, you don't even have it in your hotbar, but the Invoke Lightning Spear will spawn every time you do with Unstable Currents, so that is very nice just to do that over and over and over again. Then Ice Blades for the cooldown reduction on other skills as well. And of course, Ball Lightning, you want to get as much as Ball Lightning and spawning Crackling Energy. Okay, also, if you crit, there's a chance of spawning Crackling Energy, and Crackling Energy will give you 12 mana, because this build is very mana hungry. Devouring Blades, as I've said before, more crit damage against all these burning targets. Then Unstable Currents, and getting more attack speed is always good. Attack speed is really good in this build, so you want to get that as well. And of course, less damage for 5.5 seconds after being critically struck by your shield kills, which is almost all the time. And then Fear, just to get that 15% increased damage buff is great, but just the 20% less damage to you, and Critical Strike increases these bonuses even more. So 20% and 25% damage reduction, and then this helmet will give you also grant a 27% bonus on that, on top of the 25% already getting. So if you're critting enemies, they'll do a lot less damage to you, which means you'll get a lot more tankiness, which you really need in this build. So I'll quickly go over the Paragon as well. Paragon is a bit iffy, a bit weird. I would get the first Paragon I would definitely get is Adept, because you will get increased area and just more damage on your mastery skills, which is your Ball Lightning. So you would get that first, and you can easily get all of the points with intelligence that you need for this. So I would get that first. I just swapped that out now because in the second page I went for Enchantment Master. You could opt out for Enchantment Master, but it only goes for one of the two, the Enchanted Blades, which, you know, and instead of every 40 seconds of cooldown, you get a 32, which is decent, I guess. But you know, you don't really need this. I don't think it's worth all of the points you spend in them. It's better to just get your glyphs and level the glyphs. Of course, only get this reinforced glyph if you already have it maxed out. Don't put this in yet if you don't have it maxed out, because it's not even gonna reach the rare node, and you won't have anything about it. But you will get the 15% damage reduction if you do the willpower, so that's good, pretty good. I do get the non-physical for this, but just because I can get it and it's 20%, you don't really need to do that. You can opt out for that as well, but at the beginning it's quite nice because you get quite a lot of non-physical extra damage. Then lightning resistance is quite decent, but you also just do it for the intelligence, and you can get a lot of crowd damage, crowd control enemies just from this one. Then critical strike damage, really good. If you have quite a few items, you'll have some decent critical strike chance. 1 in 3 is not that bad. Afterwards, for critical strike, crackling damage energy, and it's a bit iffy, but the crackling energy gives you 15% increased damage. That is quite nice, so you really want to do it for that one. But damage to close range enemies is also pretty good. Then the mastery damage, I swapped this one. Oh, sorry, I swapped this one out, as I've said before. But you really want to get this, and you want to get this as many as possible, because you will get a lot of extra mastery damage from it. So you see here some intelligence nodes, I'll get those too. This one's just 70% increased damage to vulnerable enemies, which is just a 70% increased damage buff. So I'll put a link in the description of like Maxroll, which I kind of took a lot of this from. It's not like I'm stealing, and just, you know, it's a good build, and I wanted to tell you guys how I adapted this build. A little bit differently than the build actually said, but you know, that's how it goes. So I think that's it for everything. Yeah. For masterworking, I haven't done it much masterworking, but I'm gonna go boots first because you could get plus ball lightning. Then of course your weapon and your focus, those are really good. Rings can also be really good because of the attack speed, critical strike chance, recoil reduction. If you have great stats on your amulet, I would maybe do that first because it also gives resistance to all elements. That could be nice. So really, if you get a good tempering on your amulet, really get that one masterworked as well. And those I think are like the main priority: your boots, your weapons, and like your amulets. You could say the core skills, but I don't really think that's good because you need to give up one of your affixes just for the core skills. So it's not really that good. For your helmet, the cooldown reduction and the mana per second are also pretty good. So that's also an alternative to go for, but you already have a lot of good options to go for masterworking. But this is mainly mid-game, so you probably want to get into masterworking that much either. I'm going to show off this build a little bit. Of course, I'm already level 90, which is not really mid-game anymore, but I'll showcase it just real quick on a level 76 dungeon, just to showcase a little bit how the build works and everything goes. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice day.